Okay, in this video here, I'm going to lower my automatic transmission in my '04 Jeep Wrangler Sport. Appears to be that my front pump seal is leaking. So I'm going to take my first attempt at lowering the transmission and repairing the seal. So what I've done here first is I went ahead and jacked all 4 tires off the ground. These are front tires here. I had to get pretty tall jack stands because of my lift and my 35-inch tires. So I went with the 21-inch jack stands at 4 tons. See here, I got the tires all the way off the ground, front and rear. I went ahead and put the back a little higher than the front. That way when I go to lower the transmission, you'll see that later, it'll kind of level off a little bit. I think it'll make it a little easier to remove the transmission with the jack later. So like I said, I got all 4 tires off the ground. That's going to allow me to have a little bit more room and take some tension off my drive shafts when I go to remove those. Also have a leak here in my rear main. Excuse me, not my rear main, my differential. I'll probably tackle that while I'm under here too. Alright. Okay, you want to make sure before you get started, you want to go ahead and remove your negative post here on your battery. I guess to kind of keep you from frying any of your components when you start pulling all your plugs and stuff in your transmission. Now that I got all 4 tires off the ground, I'm going to bring my jack stand in, another jack stand in here, and block it underneath the oil pan. That way when I go to remove my skid plate, it'll kind of lower down, give me some room on top of the transmission so I can loosen all my bolts from my bell housing there. And also remove my drive shaft there in the rear, and then my drive shaft up front. Okay, now I'm under the Jeep here. I'm at the rear end. I'm gonna go ahead and start removing the drive shaft from the back. Go ahead and take these bolts out here on the yokes, and I think I'm able to attempt to once I get that off, slide this shaft off of the transfer case here. So it's an 8mm part 8mm wrench, and I'm going to remove 1, 2, 3, and 4 bolts there. Did notice there was some blue Loctite apparently when I removed this bolt here. I did buy a repair manual. I plan on doing lots of studying on that when I put it back together, and I haven't seen anything about that in the studying I've been doing online. I'll see if they say something about that. When I did buy the Jeep, it was 10 years old when I bought it, but it only had 42,000 miles on it. And it's kind of sad the seal's leaking, but I guess that's part of the deal. So yeah, I'm gonna look into that before I put these back in and see about getting them Loctited if I need to. It's also nice to have one of these little magnetic trays right here. They really come in handy. Losing all your tools, your hardware. Alright, to the other side. Shaft off. That was pretty easy. Just kind of put a screwdriver right there, kind of prod it this way, and then kind of fell out of place. And after I did that, I just kind of popped the boot off and slid it off toward the bag. It was pretty easy. There we go. Rear drive shaft is off. The front yoke, front drive shaft, same kind of setup in reverse. Longer drive shaft though, going from the transfer case to the front pinion there. I'm going to go ahead and remove those the same 8mm bolts. I'm going to go ahead and move those with my ratchet and see if I can pry it back, and then kind of the same deal. Here I am at the front yoke, the front drive shaft of the pinion. I went ahead and removed the same 8mm bolts. The yokes kind of compressed right here. They'll slide it back. Now, back here in the transfer, there's also some more bolts, 8mm bolts back here that I have to remove. But I went ahead and did the front first. That way when I go set my jack stand under my oil pan here, it won't be so tight right here, kind of getting to it. So to get those off, I'm gonna have to set my jack stand under my oil pan and lower my skid plate and remove it from my transmission mount there. Okay, I went ahead and set the jack stand, block of wood, a few inches away from the oil pan there. That way when I loosen up the bolts here on the skid plate, there's 3 on each side, I'm going to go ahead and lower the jack. And that's going to kind of give me my space I need to work on top of my transmission to get the bell housing undone and get the skid plate out of there so my whole engine don't fall back. Okay, these are some 18mm bolts. Like I said, there's 3 on each side. I'm going to go ahead and remove all 3 and then lower the jack stand, let it rest on the oil pan there. Okay, I went ahead and placed the jack stand in the oil pan. I think earlier in the last shot I had it in the transmission pan, but it goes here in the oil pan. Decided to go with a little different block of wood. That way it feels a little bit more flush on the oil pan. And I remove my bolts here. Make sure you remove your bolts there where my jack goes up. There's the bolts for the transmission mount there. You want to remove those first before putting your jack in there in place. And I'll go ahead and lower it. There, I think it's sitting pretty good there in the oil pan. Go in there and see if it's tight enough or if I need to jack it up a little bit more. I think I got it moving along here. Here I am, I got the skid plate off. I'm back over here on the driver's side. I got the front of the drive shaft off there. And now I'm back with my trusty ratchet here with the 8mm. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. They got some more 8mm bolts that I'm gonna go ahead and remove right here. It's a little different setup. Looks like the bolts running from the other side instead of the side with the little piece there for the yoke. So I'm gonna pull that off right now. I got the front drive shaft off the transfer case there. It's pretty easy. Back the 4 bolts out. Got to the last bolt. Kind of had to hold the drive shaft up with my other hand, and there we go. It's on the floor. Okay, now I am at the transmission pan. That's where your transmission filter is. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and drain the oil from the transmission. Tricks I little saw on like YouTube. It shows to kind of loosen one side just a little bit back here in this area and loosening the other side much more. That way your oil kind of drains out of one side so you don't make a big mess of the oil everywhere. So I'm just going to loosen these just a hair. And loosen this side a lot more. leaving one up tight to kind of keep it from coming out until I'm ready to have everything in place and let the oil come out. Okay, there we go. I got it draining. Pretty messy process, not very easy to do. I'm going to keep kind of loosening around and around until I get it all drained out. Okay, here I am now at the transfer case. This is the rear of the vehicle. This is your fill plug. This is your drain plug right here. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the oil out of the transfer case too. To do this, you're going to need a 10 millimeter hex key. L shape I got here. Happens to be the largest one I have in metric, so good thing it fit. Let me run to the auto parts store again. Okay, there we go. Just about got all the oil drained out of there. It's looking pretty nasty. It's not very much miles on this transfer case. It's kind of a good thing I'm probably changing it out. Sure can't hurt. Okay, here I am at the front of the bell housing of the transmission. I'm going to remove this cover plate right here. It's got 3 little bolts. Should be easy to remove. And I'm going to also remove my starter. Which is another reason you want to disconnect your battery, because it's solenoid really arc off back here. This is hot. Gonna make sure you do that. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this with my 15 millimeter socket. Alright, you can see here I got that cover off. It's like the flywheel in there. Now I'm gonna go ahead and remove my starter. Same size ratchet. This is your 15 millimeter. You have a bolt here on the bottom, and then there's 2 bolts here. One's for the bell housing, this one here, the bottom one, is for the starter. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove those 2 bolts and just hang my starter off to the side out the way. Here at the drive wheel, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the bolts from my torque converter. There's 4 bolts all the way around. Now to get to all 4, you're gonna have to turn the crankshaft. And according to the repair manual, it says in a clockwise rotation. Now to turn the crankshaft, you gotta come up here to the front of your engine, and basically it's the bottom pulley just above your oil pan. There's a I put my 3/4 inch wrench on there and rotate the engine, allowing my drive wheel to turn and allow me to access all 4 of these bolts here. And this bolt here is a 18 millimeter. I went ahead and got the first bolt out. It was pretty tight. I actually had to get someone to help me hold the crankshaft on the other side just to keep the flywheel from spinning on me. But it had like some blue Loctite on it, made it pretty hard to get off. What I'm going to do now this time, I'm going to put some paint. I'm gonna spray in the hole to mark which bolt hole it came out of. In the repair manuals, it suggested that I mark the torque converter to the flywheel. In the pictures, they show a little slot right here, which this flywheel is solid all the way around, so you can't see the torque converter. So I'm gonna try and get some paint in the threads and match my torque converter back to my flywheel that way. Went ahead and painted each bolt hole with a different color. I don't know if it was totally necessary. It just made me feel better. I get it all back. I talked to a couple of mechanics that said getting it mounted different from where the factory had it may cause a little vibration, so I'm just trying to avoid that. Right now I am here at this bracket with the transmission mount. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove these 4 bolts here. And get this mount off. This will allow me to remove this let's see, there's a a little rubber grommet mount there for the cat catalytic converter. That'll get in my way when I go to unstab the transmission. So I'm gonna just pull this bracket off, and that'll eliminate that problem. Okay, went ahead. I got the bracket removed from the bottom of the transfer case, freeing it up from the exhaust system. That's what it looks like right here. I'm gonna go ahead and move this. I believe it's the speedometer cable. We'll move these bolts here and disconnect it right here. At the top, there's a bolt right here. So I'm gonna remove those 3 bolts and disconnect that cable. I got the cable removed. I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of stick this over in the frame out the way. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start disassembling my shifting linkage. I think I'm just gonna have to kind of bolt it here, and maybe here. I think I can kind of disconnect it from that way. Actually, didn't have to unbolt anything. I was able to just kind of push this back and pop it out. There's a spring that goes right here. I took it off already. Make sure you don't lose that. And then from the shifter itself, I just kind of popped it off with a screwdriver. Came out the grommet there. Not too bad. Right here, over on the driver's side still, I'm going to go ahead and remove my transmission coolant lines. These kind of unthread right here and unthread here, and I think I can kind of just, they run up to the radiator. I think I can kind of just tie them back out the way, tie them up against the frame. Came out pretty easy. Just got to loosen that one. And then after I did that, I just kind of pulled them out. A little bit of transmission fluid coming out. There you go. Around the transmission, there's various spots with electrical plugs. They all kind of come from the same wiring harness. So the way it looks, you're just going to have to unplug them all to get them raised up, and then pop these little pieces out here that kind of just hold it, track it in place along the transmission. So now I'm going to go ahead and start unplugging all these pieces. I'm over here on the back on the passenger side. You have your transmission dipstick tube that comes down right here. Now there's a bolt right here. You can see I loosened it up. Allows you to pull your transmission dipstick out. And then also on top of the transmission, there's 2 bolts in the corners there. There's one there and there's one there. You see the bracket there for your transmission dipstick. Now those 2 bolts have a number 12 torque head. Now this is your number 12 torque head socket. What I did was I got me a really long extension. I think it's like 18 inches, so I can reach up there from behind the transmission and reach those torque head sockets, bolts, and remove those. So I'm at the point now where I'm going to start removing my bolts from my bell housing. I'm going to go ahead and set my jack here underneath my oil pan for my transmission. Just kind of have it in place. I'm going to remove the very tops, and I believe there's some on the very bottom, and I'm going to leave the 2 side ones in place for last. One last step also before I start loosening up the bell housing. Right here there's a crankshaft position sensor. It's right up here by the dipstick tube, right in front of it, right where the bell housing meets the engine. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that out. It was on a repair manual I read online. I recommend to remove it because it's easy to damage. I went ahead and placed my jack underneath my transmission. I have it facing front to rear. That way I can slide the transmission back, unstabbing it. I just got it kind of snugged up. At this time, I'm going to start removing my bolts around my bell housing, starting with the torque head bolts on the top, then finally removing my side bolts in the bell housing. Okay, I got my two torque head bolts off the top. All I got left now are the two on the sides. Got my jack here. Hopefully I'll be able to remove those two and pull the transmission back and down. Okay, so I went ahead and I had my brother pulling that rope a little bit, backed it up just a bit, allowed it to kind of pass over the flywheel there, and then I lowered it slowly. It was wasn't too hard to balance on just a jack. Probably been way easier with the transmission jacks. Now I'm trying to figure out a way to actually get it down off the jack. Okay, so the transmission is out. It was pretty rough with just using a jack. I think to put it back in, I'm going to either buy or borrow a transmission jack. They really couldn't get it out from under the Jeep. I ended up having to use a strap and hook it to the Nerf bar and then kind of suspend it in there and lower it down. You can see here my paint marks did work. From here I'm going to go inside, pull the torque converter off, see if I can find out if my seal's leaking. It's going to be the end of my video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. And that's about it. That's how you remove a transmission out of an 04 Jeep Wrangler. Thanks to Alex Vaughn for the help dropping the transmission. And thank you for watching.